replay, put hashtag replay so I know that you were here. We'll get started in just a couple of seconds, waiting for this to go on YouTube. Let's go. If you are burnt out, frustrated, or feeling stuck business leader, feeling like you are meant to be way further along than you are right now, this episode is for you. My name is James Zhang. I have the honor of being your host and your MC, and welcome to the Making of a Champion podcast. This is a podcast for high achieving business leaders that want to scale your business without burnout. And today, I want to introduce you to what this podcast is all about, give you some practical solutions on how to actually overcome burnout, and give you some backstory on where we're going. For those who don't know me, I've been an entrepreneur for the past 16 years, 14 of which have been with the very same product. And we had built a multiple six-figure business, did it very well. And then we hit a brick wall. We hit burnout. We lost everything. I was bankrupt in emotion. I was bankrupt in spirit, and literally bankrupt in finances. And I remember feeling like I was trying to do everything I knew to take steps forward, but it was like one step forward, multiple steps back. And I had literally given up on my business dream. But thank God, my wife spoke encouragement into me. She said, "Babe, you could do it one more time." And it put me on a trajectory to start to understand, why was I so devastated? Why was I feeling so guilty and feeling so down on myself and really feeling like I couldn't take step forward, and learned certain things to be able to overcome that. And praise God, it's been an amazing last season now. We've been able to not just rebuild our business and rebuild our life, but in just the last year alone, we've literally been able to 10x our income in 1 year. All of this while having a newborn baby, now 15 months old, traveling the world, enjoying and creating experiences, having more freedom and flexibility than we ever have been before, working with amazing people, feeling joy and passion in what we do, but also being able to build a very successful 7-figure business. And through that, I've realized that there's a couple things that we've learned on how to actually achieve that. Why do I want to do this podcast now? Because in my line of work, we've had the opportunity of mentoring many people that are the top 1% leaders within our business. And unfortunately, I have seen many cases of people that have so much opportunity, many leaders that have so much potential, and they're like 3 feet away from gold. But what happens is burnout happens. Family matters get too intense, and then they lose momentum. Business dips, and they don't know how to recover. Guilt and shame and condemnation sets in, and they don't know how to navigate. And over and over again, I see people that almost cross the finish line, and then they give up. And it's so painful to see, because I believe it didn't have to be that way. So on this podcast, we're going to be addressing a very real issue of burnout in today's society. And we're going to talk about strategies on how to actually go over that. And here's the first thing to understand that burnout is not failure. In fact, burnout many times is a part of the making of a champion. Talk to anyone that's been successful and ask them, have you ever felt burned out? They're going to ask you, like, all the time. It means that you're striving. It means that you're pushing yourself, right? If you go to the gym and you don't actually gas out in your reps, it probably means you're not working hard enough. So burnout is not a sign that you're doing things wrong. It's a sign that you're moving in the right direction, but it's not where we want to stay as well, too. And here's what I've realized about burnout. Burnout comes from misalignment. And specifically, misalignment in 3 different places. Number 1 is your identity. If we don't know who we are, what we're called to, and we're running for the wrong reasons as a leader, you will inevitably burn out. I'll break these down further in a bit. Number 2 is misalignment in your systems in your business, your systems in your life, habits. When your systems are misaligned, it is inevitable that you will hit a brick wall and you will achieve burnout. And the last place is misalignment in your leadership. As a business leader, we're around people all the time, your clients, your partners, your leaders. And if we don't have the right leadership principles down, don't know how to navigate relationships, have boundaries, all these things, then it will inevitably lead to burnout as well. So, what I want to show you is how to align yourself again in these three key places of identity, of systems, and of leadership. And as we unpack these, I promise you, I know these are principles, right? I'm a person of faith. And whether you believe or don't, everything that I talk about, by the way, is rooted from the Bible, meaning that it's been around for a long time. So I know it works. I've tried it, I've seen this, and I promise you, it will really serve you as well. So let's talk about a couple of these areas more in detail. Okay. And how does burnout actually feel? Burnout is when you feel like you're being burnt on both sides of the end of a candle. You're juggling your family, you're juggling your business, you're juggling your life, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling tired. You feel like you need to have caffeine all the time and you just feel drained, right? You just can't wait for the weekend. Burnout is a place that you do not have to be in, and it's something that we can overcome. Well, let's talk about the first part, which is identity. And this is where personal growth comes into play. Identity says this there's a personal development principle, which says that you can never achieve more. You can never earn more than who it is you believe yourself to be. Business, why I love it is a compensation plan wrapped around personal growth, no matter what business that you're in. So you'll notice patterns, and you might even look at this with your own income as well. Have you noticed that there's typically patterns of earnings and profits in your business? And it's like you might have a spike here, but then you'll settle back down in a certain place. There's set points that happen. This is spiritual, psychological, emotionally true. So if we do not actually work on ourselves and we don't increase our own value, then you're not going to be able to increase your market value. So we have to really look at, what is my identity? What am I worth? Who am I? These are deep questions that, as a business leader, you will be forced to confront, whether now or later, because your results are always tied directly to your identity. For sake of example, my own personal history, when I first got involved as a business leader, guess what? My identity was, I'm a shy, introverted person, and I am not a leader. That's my identity. That's who I was growing up. And guess what my results were? Not much. So I realized I needed to change that. I needed to understand that. I needed to work on that. Jim Rohn, one of the greatest of all time in personal development, says work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So I started to work on me. I started to work on my philosophies and my attitude and my skills. And I started to realize that you can change, right? For things to change, and you got to change. So identity is something that we're constantly working on. From a faith note, I believe that our identity can only be tied to who created you. And if you believe that you are God's child, He created you perfect as you are, and you are made in His image, then what I started to realize is, any single time that my identity is not rooted with who it is that created me and what He wanted for me, what He wants for you, we then start to veer off the wrong track. I'll give you a practical example. When I wasn't rooted in my identity, we tend to get value from other people's affirmation. Now, I'm a big person of words of affirmation. You might know the 5 love languages. By the way, if you know that, throw in the chats below or throw in the comments, what is your love language? My wife is gifts and quality time. Mine is words of affirmation. Growing up, I didn't have much of that. I was super insecure. So when I got into business leadership, guess what? Recognition was a big thing for me. In fact, it was so big that for me, the results didn't even matter. As long as I could get recognized for something and someone could give me an attaboy or a pat on the back, then that's what I would be driven for. And none of these in itself are bad, but when they are prioritized over your own value, that can lead to an issue. So, what started to happen, especially when I was around other leaders that weren't only recognition driven and they really wanted results in their business. I realized that my capacity to deliver value was very limited because some people actually wanted to make money. Some people actually wanted to create a lifestyle. Here I was promising a better life, but really what I subconsciously wanted was I wanted people to say, James, you're special. James, you're amazing. Attaboy. That many times is not associated with just results. That carried on to my marriage with the love of my life, Becky. And as we're thinking about starting a family and establishing a life, you cannot take a promotion, you cannot take a title, you cannot take affirmation into the bank account. So I realized I need to fix this and I need to really get to the root of this. I love giving words of affirmation, I love receiving them still. But I replaced the root of that, the identity, and I had to take a hard look. And I said, what am I really, what is my value? Do I need other people to tell me I'm amazing? Or do I already believe that? Because if I'm created in the sight of God, then I'm already amazing and you're already amazing, right? You're created perfectly just the way that you are. And we don't need anyone else to affirm it. Your parents don't need to, your siblings don't need to, your mentors don't need to. You don't even have to. If God said it, it's done. I hope that makes sense. That so changed me. And it established a bedrock of foundation in my identity that I needed to start from there. The rest of our lives, what's our target with identity? Now, that's easier said than done. We got to work that out. Every day, we need to renew our mind. Every day, we need to build ourselves up. Every day, we need to, just like the gym, like a mental gym, an identity gym, we need to constantly get better at realizing our true identity. And we have to remind ourselves. That's why growth is so important. That's why tuning into a podcast like this is so important, because I hope it gives you a mental refresher, a mental gym session to just remind you on what you already know to be true, which is you are valuable already. You're called to a certain purpose. I believe your business, I believe your work is a part of your call. Work is not just for you to be able to make money. Work is for you, it's how you live. It is what you do to serve other people. So, identity is so key. Have you forgotten who you are? Have you become misaligned in that? Have you been maybe living in other people's perceptions of identity of you? And maybe that's why you're burnt out. You will always be burned out if you're living someone else's dream for you rather than your own dream that God's placed for you. So that's number one. Assuming you have identity down, then number two of misalignment and fix is systems. Your life, your results are a byproduct of the systems that you've created. This goes both for your actual business, sales systems, training systems, growth systems, follow-up systems, right? There's all these business systems, but this also goes with your life systems. I think they're just as important because if a business value is a byproduct of us, and we are the X factor, that's what I love about business because you can always become more valuable. But if you build a business system on top of an improper foundation where our life systems are off in our health, in our mindset, in our spirituality, in our family relationships, for example, if that foundation is shaky, you will find that no matter how amazing your business systems are, it will lead into burnout. I'm in a business where we literally give done for you systems for our people. We have digital marketing systems. We have promotional systems. We have social media systems. We have scripting systems. We literally have the playbook that is given to people. And it's always fascinating that we see people that have the same access to the system, but they have different outcomes. Why? It's because there's a different alignment when it comes to their life systems. So I believe a champion needs to really evaluate these different systems for yourself in every season. Right now, as I'm doing this, it is December, so it's holiday season, and we're evaluating off of an amazing year. This has been a 10x business year for us and our team. But I also know that the same systems that got us to where we are today may not be the same systems that need to bring us into the next season. So I'm evaluating all those systems. I'm evaluating my health system. I'll give a confession. I realize that, especially with a lot of travel, we traveled to like, I don't know, 17 cities this last year. We were away from our normal schedule. So because of that, my health system was off. And I wasn't going to the gym as consistently. I wasn't watching what I was eating as consistently. I wouldn't say I let myself go, but I wasn't as diligent. And you know what that does for the business leader? Is when you're not aligned with your own habits and your systems, it eats away at your self-esteem and it eats away at your own standards, because you start to think either consciously or subconsciously, who am I as a business leader if I can barely lead myself? Who am I to be able to lead someone else if I'm slowly falling apart here? I realized with my marriage system that things got so busy. So I was constantly in reaction mode rather than responsiveness mode. And things like my weekly date system that I would have set up for my wife and I started to go a little bit by the wayside. I would be on my phone first thing in the morning rather than saying, "Good morning, I love you, babe." Like certain things, little things started to fall away. And I realized that that was affecting our marriage and our relationships. So evaluate for yourself in every single area of your business and your life where you want results in. Ask, what are the systems? What are the habits in each of those areas? And what are the outcomes of those systems and habits? Do you even have a system or habit in the places that you want? I'm now a new father. You know, I've had to realize um, raising a child and being a dad, being a parent, having a relationship with another new human being, I didn't have a system for that. At first, my system was, let's just make sure that he survives. Now I'm like, no, I need to be very intense. So I've now put in, for example, I know during my day-to-day, I am accountable for changing my son's diaper. And I'm accountable for spending quality time with him and playing with him for at least 30 minutes. And I realized that it's not the same to be on my phone while playing with him. I want to be engaged and I want to pick him up and I want to give words of affirmation and I want to teach him things, right? So I'm starting to realize certain things in just my day. We only have 24 hours in a day. So one of the big secrets of success for any business leader that's able to scale without burnout is they're able to look at their 24 hours and say, do I have systems developed in every single area that's priority for me? Even if it's small, it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Is there some intentionality in that? But how about for you? In the areas that matter to you, do you have alignment in those systems? Okay. So we have identity, we have systems. Last area, leadership. As a business leader, probably one of the biggest areas that I've seen that lead to burnout is it's easy to lead ourselves sometimes, kind of. We'll talk about that too. But like if you get to the point where you can lead yourself, you can wake up with your alarm clock, you can go through the day, and then you can go to bed and you did your day, right? Well, right. It's another thing to then lead other people. That's a whole other issue. You're like, the business looks perfect, but other people come in the game. Oh my gosh, that just messes it all up because you can't control someone else. Well, I could barely control myself. Controlling someone else, you cannot do that. So if you want to expand your impact, if you want to expand your business, no matter what industry that you're in, the reality is this: is it will take more people. And if you want a business that scales, it can't just be management. Management is you are micromanaging every single little thing. That'll for sure lead you to burnout. But leadership, true leadership, is being able to call out the champion within other people and raise it up and have them take ownership themselves. Case in point, I take notes on any organization that's very successful. The church I go to, shout out to Awaken Church out here in San Diego, they have, I think, gosh, it must be at least 12 campuses now in multiple different states. Started in San Diego, now they're in Salt Lake, now they're in Seattle, they're opening up in Florida. And what's interesting in this is the main pastor, Pastor Jurgen Matthesius, um, he isn't at every single campus all the time. What he does is he empowers leaders within every single area, pastors, and gives them full ownership and autonomy to go run their churches the way that they want to. There's a guideline, there's a framework, but he doesn't micromanage them. And as a byproduct, it is a church community with a ton of diversity. If you bring all the pastors together, they all look so different. They talk different, they think different, but yet they share a common thread. And that's proper leadership, right? And Pastor Jurgen doesn't even know every single inner workings of what's going on. There's too many things. A proper leader knows that they shouldn't be in control of everything, but they want to find the right people, empower them, equip them so they can go do their jobs very, very well. So in our leadership, how is our leadership framework? Let's start with ourselves. The best leader leads from the front themselves. Here's a couple areas to consider. Number one, how big is your vision? And are you clear on it? Right? You're in one of a couple places. Some of us, you have a big vision and you're working on it. Awesome. Some of us, you've had a vision, but maybe you've actually achieved some of it and you need to reclarify your vision. Some of us, you're not dreaming big enough. Some of us, you don't have a vision at all. If you want to scale a business, then your vision must be big enough for other people to see their visions included in your own vision. A leader will only follow others that have greater vision than themselves. That kind of just makes logical sense, right? John Maxwell, leadership guru, says law of the lid, which is so true. So what is your vision and is it big enough? Here's my challenge. Don't make your vision only a selfish vision, just enough for you. The best visions in the world are the ones that take many people to be able to accomplish it in a long time. So think big, dream big. I call these God-sized goals. I was just sharing with our team the other day in 2017 when we lost everything, went bankrupt. At the bottom of the bottom, even when we were $12,000 a month in the deficit, I started striking up a vision for what our future business and organization will look like. And I wrote it down, still on my phone and still in my notes now. And fast forward, it's been 8 years since that vision statement. I was just reading it off to the team, kind of live. I know the vision, but I haven't like read word for word for a while. And I started to look through it. You know, we hit certain goals within our business. We hit number one in our company as a team at 400,000 partners. We're a closing stage speaker. We achieved some massive things. We hit our income targets. Like, you know, our organization looked like the way that we had described it to be. And then I started to realize that vision is many of parts of it complete. I need to refresh my vision. So me and my wife, even this last week, I was feeling honestly a little bit disconnected. I'm like, why am I feeling a little bit motivationlessness? Why am I feeling a little bit disconnected? I'm like, oh, I need to expand the vision to the next level. So me and my wife sat down and we started to create a vision, the next vision, the bigger one. And we started thinking about places in the company, the types of people we want to help. We want to empower 100 six-figure plus earners, build seven-figure businesses, you know, help them to do these things. We want to be able to have a global community, right? Like all these things we started to dial in further and start to write it down. So this is a good season. If you're not yet clear on your vision, get super, super clear. Are you so clear that you can verbalize it to your people? Right? They have to run off of your vision. A leader leads from your own vision. So, leadership. Number two, leading yourself through those systems and habits. What you tell your team to do, are you doing? I lead a sales organization. So, we're selling all the time, we're recruiting all the time, we're training all the time. So, guess what? Every day, every week, am I doing that? One common question I ask for leaders in our team is I ask them, when was the last time you sold something? When was the last time you personally recruited someone? And if it's been a long time, I'm like, that's where you need to work on. Leadership, not management. I think is lead until we continue to lead until we're done with our work. I'm not done yet. We have so much more to do. So I'm constantly keeping myself sharp. I'm promoting. I'm adding value. I'm finding ways to network and connect and go outbound, not just focus on managing from within because that causes pressure that will always lead to burnout because I can control what I can do. I can't control what anyone else does. Okay. And then final part for now, I'll cover on leadership is then what is your relationship like and how do you feel towards the team? If I'm to be very honest, our hearts can get so clouded with time. They can get so hurt with time. And the biggest thing that kills a business leader's influence in business typically isn't an economic change. It isn't it isn't a product issue. It is a heart issue. And what happens is, as we go through our day to day and we're rubbing with other people, teammates, clients, mentors, partners, relationships, we start to carry little hurts and little offenses. We start to say in our hearts, look at how they hurt me. We start to say to ourselves, how could they? We start to compare. We start to envy a little bit. We start to say, must be nice. You wouldn't say this out loud usually. And if you are, monitor your words because if we're actually saying this, here's a check. Monitor your conversations with your teammates. And if you like really look at it, and if it's only filled with complaints about other people, that is a red alert. We need to nip that in the bud right away. Some people say, well, it's just me being honest, me being transparent, me being vulnerable. Out of the mouth come an overflow of what's in the heart. So if we're able to say it, it means that we've been meditating on it already. It means it's what's really in our heart. And you cannot lead or influence people that you do not love. People will go away. And even if you're good at faking it, which I am, I can fake a smile. I can say the right things. People can feel your actual emotions in your spirit. So I believe as a leader, it's so important that we evaluate our heart set and really, really look at, is there anything I'm bringing in from last season into this next one? Because if we're to impact many people in our leadership, we cannot do it carrying gripes or pains or complaints of the past. We have to refresh ourselves now. So who do we need to forgive? Whose pain and hurt do we need to let go of? Who do we need to bless and release maybe? Who do we need to be able to shift the perspective of? How do I start taking ownership of the things that I can take ownership of? I'm going to control what I can control and let others do what they need to do. Understand people come for a season and a reason. They all impact you in some way. And if there's people in the past that are in another season, let them go. That's great. You know, God will deal with everyone the way they need to go. He's got a path for everybody. That's not up to you to decide. So let me focus on who's placed in front of me right now. So evaluate your relationships with other people. Okay. So as you do this, as you look at alignment in your identity, your systems, and your leadership, I believe you're going to start to find some truth. You're going to find some relief. You're going to find some realignment. And as that starts to get realigned, you'll notice that your clarity becomes better, your confidence becomes better, your energy becomes better, your excitement becomes better, and opportunities start to open up. And this is what I know, champion, that in business, it's an endurance race. It's a marathon of sprints. And if we're not able to stay constantly in aligned, then it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you not just feel burnt out, but you're taken out of the game from burnout. One of the biggest advantages that I believe any business leader can have today is the advantage of staying in the game long enough, but with a winning attitude and with a winning spirit. We, because we have such a fast paced society, what's uncommon now are leaders that plant a flag, leaders that withstand the storm. Longevity is so rare now. But if you can stay and you can make a decision and you can actually stay aligned in these areas, I know that you too will be able to last that endurance race. You'll be able to create the impact that you want, the life that you want, the business that you want. All right. So I hope this is interesting. If it is, please subscribe, share this, tag this with somebody. This would be a generic for any business leader type of conversation. My goal is weekly to come out with content to make sure that we can help you stay aligned in those areas that I mentioned so that you too can scale and bring out the breakthrough and the work and the call that I believe God's planted into your life. All right. So, with that said, this is episode number 1 of the Making of a Champion podcast. I hope this encouraged you. Other than that, stay tuned for more. Leave in the comments below anything that impacted you, any questions, anything. I'll make sure that I get back to all of them. And other than that,